Morning, Shabbat Shalom. Today we are going to discuss what time it is. And once again, the prophet portions and the Torah portions are directly in line with world events to such a precise degree that I'm so glad and happy that you are all here week by week because you get to witness it with me. And that's a blessing. So prophets of Baal. So in this week's prophet portion, we are talking about the prophets of Baal, and the prophets of Baal are fire is called down on them by Elijah. And so we're getting into that section. And then we're also talking about Phinehas, and Phinehas is also destroying prophets of Baal in this Torah portion. And that is very interesting in light of what was happening at the Olympics. That was a Baal worship ceremony. I had the most disturbing dream last night. I had posted about the Olympic ceremony on TikTok last night, and then had a normal evening, went to bed. But the dream I had was, I'm going to be careful choosing my words so that we don't get censored. The dream I had was that children were being hurt, and they were being hurt in such a way to keep them alive as long as possible. And I could hear them screaming. The children were being hurt to the point that it was just endless torture, but they were purposely not being fully, the torture was being prolonged as long as possible, kept alive on purpose to endure the torture as long as possible. It was horrifying. And when I was praying about it this morning, and I was discussing it this morning with a friend, I had this realization that at these ceremonies, that's what's going on behind the scene, you guys. Do not watch this stuff. Do not be a participant of it at all. Do not watch any of the Olympics. I'm telling you, just do not be involved. There's also, I haven't had a chance to post about this, but there's also, see if I can put it up. I'll put it up on TikTok. Just so that you understand the degree to which this is meticulously planned, and it is a meticulous ceremony done on purpose. Okay, 5 rings. So the moon throughout the night, last night, went through different stages. I'm going to pull this up on my computer just so they can see it there. Just a second. Where can I pull it up? Okay, so I'll pull it up on my computer there. So you can see the moon goes through each of the circles. It's all very purposeful. It's kind of hard to do this in two places. Okay, so there's absolutely nothing in this that's done haphazardly. It was 100% a ritual. I believe that there was likely sacrifices going on behind the scenes, just as there is at the Super Bowl, just as there is at everything else. If you're being lukewarm about these things, it may be time to stop being lukewarm about these things. You can't be in the world and in the kingdom at the same time. So these prophets of Baal are doing their ceremonies, and then we're leading into, now we're reading the Torah portion where those who are the peacemakers are going to come at the prophets of Baal with a sword. So we're going to get into this today. So let's start with some prayer, and then we'll get into the study. I got to get rid of this picture. I don't want it behind me. There we go. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for being here with us today. I thank you for your peace. I thank you for giving me wisdom and the ability to express all the things that you have been weaving together in my mind this past week. We just want to glorify your name and all of this, glorify who you are, what you are doing in this world, and how you are going to destroy the prophets of Baal. And you're going to establish your kingdom, and the meek will inherit the earth. And we want to meekly and humbly come before you and request to understand your word in the way that you wrote it for us, and the way that you brought us all these things so that we would understand you, we would be able to know you through your word. Help us to not twist these things or bring our own interpretations into them, but to seek your heart on every matter, to seek your clarity on every matter. I pray, Father, that you will give us eyes to see and ears to hear. I pray, Father, that you will protect us from the attacks of the evil ones. I pray that you'll build up your hedge of protection around us. I pray that you will reach our family and friends, those who are still not seeing with spiritual eyes yet, those who are still blinded by the world, blinded by the trappings of the world. English is so interesting. I just pray, Father, that you open their eyes and ears, and that they will start to see, that we can plant seeds in their hearts and minds as we speak truth to them. I pray, Father, over each and every person here today, I pray that you give them a boldness to be a peacemaker, to destroy the authority connected to chaos, and to bring shalom into their communities and families and homes. I pray that you protect our homes. You put a strong hedge of protection around our homes and our families and our children and our children's minds. I pray that you give our children the most perfect discernment possible, that they are always convicted when they're headed down a wrong path, that they are able to speak the truth even when in difficult situations, that they are able to see through the programming and the agenda that's being sent against them. I pray, Father, that you'll give our children clarity. I pray that you will give them encounters with Yeshua, and I pray that you'll give them peace. I pray against all infirmity and all sickness and illness. May this people be in perfect health. You say in Deuteronomy that if we walk in your ways and we seek after your commands, and we write your commands on our foreheads and our hands and put them on our doorposts, that you will keep the diseases of Egypt away from us. So we just want to thank you for keeping the diseases of Egypt far away from us. I just want to thank you, Father, that you are always healing us as we walk towards you, as we grow in you, that you're always restoring everything that has been lost. And we just pray that you will keep us on the correct path, never veering to the left or to the right, but seeking completely after you. I pray against anxiety, depression, confusion, ADHD, autism, any stress disorders. I pray against high blood pressure. I pray against arthritis. I pray against inflammation in the joints. I pray against broken bones. I pray against accidents. And I just pray, Father, that you will protect this people perfectly. In Yeshua's mighty name, amen. All right. Where do we begin? Well, let's look at my notes. Okay. Peace. What is the word peace? Peace is shalom. And if you break it down, it's to destroy the authority connected to chaos. Okay. And so, see if I can find a little visual for you. This is a good one. Okay, so shin, destroy, like teeth biting. Lamed, authority. Vav, attached. Mem, chaos. So to destroy the authority attached to chaos, okay? The 5th day of the week is when the seeds and the birds and the fish went out with the seeds. And that's like that picture of the flowing waters. Okay. So now you've got the prophets of Baal, which at the Olympics last night, they were putting out the seed, planting seeds. What are those prophets of Baal doing? They're planting seeds in people's minds. They're planting the seed of the enemy's plan in these people's minds. Okay. And we have seed that we are bringing out to plant the truth in people's minds so that they know. And we have to be just as bold as the prophets of Baal are. I'm finding that a lot of times people who are believers are kind of sitting on the fence and not willing to be bold. Whereas the prophets of Baal are very extremely bold. They dedicate a whole month to planting seeds, right? And we as believers need to dedicate more time to being bold and planting seeds. So peace, shalom. Who are the peacemakers? The peacemakers are those who are willing to take a sword and destroy the authority and the plan of the enemy, and that's attached to the chaos. And take the sword, which is the word, which is the truth, and bring it to people and be able to speak the word to them so that the chaos is destroyed. How do we destroy chaos? We bring it to the light. We say, do you understand what they're doing here? Do you understand what's happening? A lot of people just watch these things and they don't even connect. They think it's just art. Oh, it's just this. No, it's a covenant confirming ceremony. Why are they doing? Let me put the picture back up. So if people hop on, they know what I'm talking about. Okay. So when Yeshua sat with his disciples and broke bread, what was he doing? He was confirming the new covenant with them, the renewed covenant. He was confirming that they are engaged to him, that they are one with him, okay? That they are one with the body of his temple. So now we have the prophets of Baal, the false prophets, doing a ceremony that's mimicking this. And all these people are watching it and they're not speaking up against it. And they're coming into agreement mentally with it. And they're not saying something against it. And when they do that, they are coming in heart, mind, and spirit in agreement with the covenant. So now they're coming into agreement with this covenant, with the prophets of Baal, okay? And so you have to choose, right, this day who you serve. Everyone's going to have to choose. There's people that are going to want to sit on the fence and not choose. But there will come a point where it's so obvious, and this is only the beginning of it getting obvious. This is only the beginning of the prophets of Baal showing you what they're doing. It's all going to come to light and be so obvious that you will have no choice but to pick a side, okay? And my dream last night connected these dots for me, okay? So what was Baal worship? Sacrificing, I have to watch my words or I'll get censored. Sacrificing the young ones to Baal. Now, what happens when you take a child's life and you implant a whole bunch of confusion, a whole bunch of identity confusion, and then you start chopping off body parts and you start injecting them full of drugs and you steal their life from them. You steal their ability to make heirs. You steal their ability to have children. You steal their ability to live. You steal their life. All of it is wrapped up in, I can't say the word because I'll get censored. That's what the prophets of Baal do. It's all about, I can't say the word. So anyways, hopefully you understand what I mean by that. And this is as old as time, right? They've been doing this forever. Okay, so let's go to first. We're gonna start on a positive note. We're gonna go to the Peacemakers. So Matthew 5. This is Yeshua speaking to us. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain. He sat down and his disciples, let me remove this again. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and then he sat down, and the disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Elohim. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill them, fully preach, fill up. Okay, so let's talk about this really quick, because I know someone's going to ask. Hey, abolish means to do away with. Done. Do not even think, this is Yeshua's own mouth speaking to you. Do not even think that I have come to abolish the law and prophets. So you should not even be thinking it. If you're thinking that, something's wrong. Somebody planted a bad seed in your head. Mm-hmm. I do not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. So fulfill in in Greek, means to fill up. So if you had a glass of water, say you had a glass of water and it was half empty. So this cup was half empty, let's say. So okay. You have a glass. This is the Torah and the prophets that we had in the Old Testament. This is your understanding of the Torah and the prophets in the Old Testament, okay? This is what they understood. Now, when Yeshua came, he filled this glass to the top full of the Spirit, the living water, okay? That's what fulfill means in Greek. It means it's not full, fill it to the top. So now you have a full glass. You only had this much understanding before. You don't lose this understanding. You don't lose what this is. This doesn't disappear. You fill it up, and now you have even more understanding of who your Heavenly Father is and his word and what he's trying to do, okay? So we're not abolishing, we're not chucking this out. We're not chucking the Old Testament out, the Torah and the prophets out. Sorry, Dusty, if you're still there, you can hop on again. I just didn't quit speaking. So you don't remove the Torah and the prophets. You keep them in the glass, and then you fill up the glass all the way. So then you add Yeshua, the understanding and him coming and dying on the cross and all he taught us. You add that into the glass. Now it's fulfilled in Greek, okay? Poleru. I hope that makes sense, because it can't mean the same thing as abolish, because he just said, I'm not going to abolish it. So how is it that people are making it mean the same thing as abolish? That's not what it means, okay? All right, so where were we? Let's get into the Torah portion of Pinchas. So we're going to go to Numbers 25. I just want to point this out while we're here for those of you on the Zoom. This Jeremiah 1 popped up, and it's a typo. So when I was looking at the Torah portion on the website, Jeremiah 1 was on there and it's a typo. And then when I went in, the Torah portion was actually Kings, 1 Kings. And I noticed this and I thought, that's interesting. So we're actually adding Jeremiah 1 to the study because I actually do think Jeremiah 1 is relevant. And I don't believe in coincidences and I don't believe in mistakes. I believe that somehow Abba orchestrated that for a reason. So we're going to read Jeremiah 1 later as well. So Phinehas is the name of Phinehas. So Pinchas is the Hebrew name, and then in English it's Phinehas. And he is the son of Eleazar, Aaron the priest, and he turns away the wrath of God by taking a sword to the camp and destroying those with a sword who were bringing in the fornication and adultery and the false worship into the camp. Okay. So let's get into it. We're at Numbers 25:10. Phinehas, which is interesting because this actually brings us back to last week. We talked about how Balaam was a prophet to the Gentiles. So Balaam was not an Israelite, and he ended up prophesying one of the first messianic prophecies. He ended up having the spirit of Yah come on him, and he ended up prophesying the first messianic prophecy, and he was a Gentile. What's interesting about Phinehas is his name has a 4-letter root. All Hebrew names have a 3-letter root, like Hebrew always has a 3-letter root. Because it has a 4-letter root, chances are that it's actually a foreign name. So for some reason, Pinchas had a foreign name, which is super interesting. So let's go to Numbers 25, verse 10.
And the Lord said to Moses, Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, son of Aaron the priest, has turned back my wrath from the people of Israel, in that he was jealous with my jealousy among them, so that I did not consume the people of Israel in my jealousy.
Okay, just a quick recap for those who were not here last week. If you don't know what's going on, it's because we covered it last week. The people had started fornicating with the Moabite women, and then that was bringing in the plague into the camp. So if you are in a camp spiritually, if you're in a church that's fornicating with the daughters of Moab, and worshiping at their feasts and worshiping their false gods, and mixing in all of this false god worship, you are in the camp of the Israelites who are messing with the Moabite gods. And the plague, because they were doing this, the plague came upon them. Okay. Phinehas was zealous for Jehovah, and he went and he put a spear through 2 of the people. One was the princess of the Moabites, and then one was a leader of the camp. The people that were doing this and were orchestrating that were leaders in the camp. So they were the church leaders. They were the elders. They were the ones that were allowing this false worship in the camp. They were allowing this fornication and all this stuff to happen. And fornication is not just literal, it's also spiritual. There's a spiritual picture of it as well. Okay. If you have your eyes on all these other things, like, oh, I want to do this yoga over here, and I want to have this statue over there, and I want to mix in this with my belief in the scriptures. I want to mix in my tarot cards with the belief in the scriptures and call them angel cards or whatever. That is spiritual fornication. Okay. You are yoking yourself. If you want to have you want to be drooling over Christmas and Easter and ignore that the feast that God gave you, but you're drooling at their feasts because you have to have those foreign feasts, that is spiritual adultery. Okay, we went over this last week, so if you didn't catch it last week and you're confused, just go back to the recording. It's called Balak. It's on the YouTube.
Therefore say, behold, I give to him my covenant of peace, and it shall be to him and to his descendants after him the covenant of a perpetual priesthood, because he was jealous for his God and made atonement for the people of Israel. The name of the slain man of Israel who was killed with the Midianite woman was Zimri the son of Salu, chief of a father's house belonging to the Simeonites. And the name of the Midianite woman who was killed was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur, who was the tribal head of a father's house in Midian. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Harass the Midianites and strike them down, for they have harassed you with their wiles, with which they beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and in the matter of Cozbi, the daughter of the chief of Midian, their sister, who was killed on the day of the plague on account of Peor. After the plague, the Lord said to Moses.
So you'll notice that the plagues get sent out, and then a census is usually done. And this is a repeating pattern that you will notice. There'll be a plague, and then they're like, okay, we better count who's left. Then there'll be a plague, and then a count who's left. What's very interesting is I'm sure you all noticed during COVID, so many people came to Yeshua. So many people had some sort of an awakening. They realized what was going on in the world. And when that first lockdown happened during COVID, that was during the week of Passover. It happened during Passover, which is the time the plagues would have gone out in Egypt, right? And so the plague goes out, and then afterwards, whoever's left standing is counted, okay? I believe that we're going to see some plagues coming up here. We've already started to see them. There was fires all over the place last week. There's all sorts of stuff going out last week. And so after the plagues go out, that's then after who's standing and standing not willing to waver, but standing in truth and standing worshiping the one true God, those are going to be the ones that are counted, and then they're going into the land, okay? So now they're doing a census after this plague has gone out.
To Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, take a census of all the congregation of the people of Israel, from 20 years old and upward, by their fathers' houses, all in Israel who are able to go to war. And Moses and Eleazar the priest spoke with them in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, saying, take a census of the people from 20 years old and upward, as the Lord commanded Moses. The people of Israel who came out of the land of Egypt were Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, the sons of Reuben, of Hanok, the clan of the Hanokites, of Palu, the clan of the Paluites, of Hezron, the clan of the Hezronites, of Carmi, the clan of the Carmites. These are the clans of the Reubenites, and those listed were 43,730. And the sons of Palu, Eliab. The sons of Eliab, Nemuel, Dathan, and Abiram. These are the Dathan and Abiram chosen from the congregation, who contended against Moses and Aaron in the company of Korah, when they contended against the Lord, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up together with Korah when that company died, when the fire devoured 250 men, and they became a warning. But the sons of Korah did not die. The sons of Simeon according to their clans, of Nemuel, the clan of the Nemuelite.
Okay, do you guys remember the sons of Korah? Do you remember Korah refused to keep the commandments and wanted to set up his own tabernacle and wanted the people set up his own altars? They didn't want the people to go to Moshe. And he was trying to set himself up as a special priest. So that we're calling back to, this is going back to the sons of Korah, reminding you of the sons of Korah. The earth had opened and swallowed up those people that and their families that had been walking with Korah and had been turning against Moshe. And then, but some of the sons of Korah. So when they say sons of Korah, it means the generations past. So generationally, some of them did not die. Okay. So those in his lineage, some of them did not die. Okay.
Of Jamin, the clan of the Jamanites. Of Jachin, the clan of the Jachanites. Of Zerah, the clan of the Zerahites. Of Shaul, the clan of the Shaulites. These are the clans of the Simeonites, 22,200. The sons of Gad according to their clans, of Zephon, the clan of the Zephonites, of Haggai, the clan of the Haggites, of Shunai, the clan of the Shunites, of Ozni, the clan of the Oznites, of Eri, the clan of the Erites, of Arad, the clan of the Aradites, of Areli, the clan of the Arelites. These are the clans of the sons of Gad as they were listed, 40,500. The sons of Judah were and Onan. And and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Judah according to their clans were of Shelah, the clan of the Shelonites, of Perez, the clan of the Perizzites, of Zerah, the clan of the Zerahites. And the sons of Perez were, of Hezron, the clan of the Hezronites, of Hamul, the clan of the Hamulites. These are the clans of Judah as they were listed, 76,500. The sons of Issachar according to their clans, of Tola, the clan of the Tolaites, of Puvah, the clan of the Punites, of Jashub, the clan of the Jashubites, of Shimron, the clan of the Shimronites. These are the clans of Issachar as they were listed, 64,300. The sons of Zebulun according to their clans, of Sered, the clan of the Seredites, of Elon, the clan of the Elonites, of Jaleel, the clan of the Jaleelites. These are the clans of the Zebulunites as they were listed, 60,500. The sons of Joseph according to their clans, Manasseh and Ephraim. The sons of Manasseh, of Machir, the clan of the Machirites, and Machir was the father of Gilead the clan of the Gileadites. These are the sons of Gilead, of Iezer, the clan of the Iezerites, of Helek, the clan of the Helekites, and of Azrael, the clan of the Azraelites, and of Shechem, the clan of the Shechemites, and of Shemida, the clan of the Shemidites, and of Hepher, the clan of the Hepherites. Now Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, had no sons, but daughters, and the names of the daughters of Zelophehad were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. These are the clans of Manasseh, and those listed were 52,700. These are the sons of Ephraim according to their clans, of Shuthelah, the clan of the Shuthelahites, of Becher, the clan of the Becherites, of Tahan, the clan of the Tahanites. And these are the sons of Shuthelah, of Iran, the clan of the Iranites. These are the clans of the sons of Ephraim as they were listed, 32,500. These are the sons of Joseph according to their clans. The sons of Benjamin according to their clans, of Bela, the clan of the Belaites, of Ashbel, the clan of the Ashbelites, of Ahiram, the clan of the Ahiramites, of Shephupham, the clan of the Shuphamites, of Hupham, the clan of the Huphamites. And the sons of Bela were Ard and Naaman, of Ard, the clan of the Ardites, of Naaman, the clan of the Naamites. These are the sons of Benjamin according to their clans, and those listed were 45,600. These are the sons of Dan according to their clans, of Shuam, the clan of the Shuamites. These are the clans of Dan according to their clans. All the clans of the Shuamites as they were listed were 64,400. The sons of Asher according to their clans, of Imnah, the clan of the Imnites, of Ishvi, the clan of the Ishvites, of Beriah, the clan of the Berihites, of the sons of Beriah, of Heber, the clan of the Heberites, of Malchiel, the clan of the Malchielites. And the name of the daughter of Asher was Sarah. These are the clans of the sons of Asher as they were listed, 53,400. The sons of Naphtali according to their clans, of Jaziel, the clan of the Jazielites, of Gunai, the clan of the Gunites, of Jezer, the clan of the Jezerites, of Shillem, the clan of the Shillemites. These are the clans of Naphtali according to their clans, and those listed were 45,400. This was the list of the people of Israel, 601,730.
Okay, you guys got that? Make sure you memorize it. Just kidding. So you notice that when they count them, it's only fighting age men. So it's only men that are of age to go to war. So when you're looking at that number of 600,000 and some, you got to add women, children, elderly onto that. Okay. And so why are they counting them after this? Well, because they're going to go to battle against they're going to go to battle against the Midianites, because the Midianites entrapped them into idol worship. So you can see how that's really prevalent to the time that we're in right now. All these people have been entrapped into idol worship, and then you've got them, the prophets of Baal and the Midianites having these elaborate ceremonies and involving all the nations in these ceremonies. So what do the 5 rings of the Olympics mean? They're the 5 continents. It's really a dominion celebration. It's a celebration of them having dominion. And the fact that they have the moon with the rings and that, I mean, it's just so obvious. So what is 5? So let's go back to the 5 rings and the moon picture for a second here. Right, so they had set this up to be so that the moon would go through it, right? Now, what does a ring signify? A ring signifies marriage. A ring signifies covenant, right? Circled together. So in a Jewish wedding, the bride will circle the husband 7 times. And that's a picture of the walls coming down in Jericho as his walls come down and they get married. A really beautiful, beautiful picture. But that encircling and that coming together is a sign of the covenant. That's why we wear wedding rings, okay? So there's 5 continents. That's why they have the 5 rings all linked together. But what's interesting is when you look at 5 scripturally, let's just go through a bit of it. So you got 5 books of the Torah, right? So 5 is about the books of the Torah. 5 loaves of bread that Yeshua fed the people. What was he feeding the people? The Torah, yeah? He's feeding them the bread from heaven. He's feeding them the Torah. So you got the 5 loaves of bread. How many stones did David have? 5. He had the 5 books of the Torah. That's what he used to kill Goliath, the giant, right? You see it? So 5 scripturally means Torah, and it also means grace. So you need both. You need the truth, which is the Torah, and you need the grace, which is the grace of Yah, to walk out the Torah. You need both to be in covenant with him. That's why Yeshua said that the Father is looking for worshipers who worship in spirit, grace, and truth, Torah, right? Your Torah is truth. John 17:17, your word is truth. Sanctify them in your truth. Your word is truth. Okay. Grace is to walk out the commandments, and you're covered by Yeshua. So you're covered by Yeshua so that you can peacefully and carefully learn about Yah, learn about his heart, learn about what he thinks about things, and walk out the commandments under grace. Okay. So you're not under the law. The law is not what's covering you. The law doesn't cover you. The grace of Yeshua covers you. His garment covers you. And you're underneath learning about him and his Father and walking in the commands, okay? Not abolishing them, but fulfilling them, making them full up, right? I hope that makes sense. So now they're going to divide the inheritance. And I hope you guys are seeing the shadow pictures of how this works in our time, like what we're doing. These things cycle through every single year. They cycle through every single year. People are saying, oh, well, this happened in 70 AD. It happens. It cycles through. They are cycles. We keep going around and around and around in these cycles until we all kind of push through and get a deeper understanding. What does revelation mean? Revelation means you have a revelation of who Yeshua is. He has been revealed to you, right? Revelation. Okay, so where was I? So what happens? Okay, so they're doing their covenants, right? These guys were doing their covenant this week. These guys were doing their covenant ceremony last night on the eve of Shabbat. They're doing a covenant confirming ceremony, right? Now we're reading this Torah portion, and those who are willing to go to battle against the prophets of Baal are being confirmed and counted, okay? They're being counted and they're going to be sent into war with the Midianites, the priests of Baal, okay? And then after all of this is said and done, they will inherit the land that has been promised to them, okay? They're going to inherit the land that's been promised to them. That is the shadow picture that's going on here.
the Lord spoke to Moses, saying,
Numbers
among
27.
these the land shall be divided for inheritance according to the number of names. To a large tribe you shall give a large inheritance, and to a small tribe you shall give a small inheritance. Every tribe shall be given its inheritance in proportion to its list. But the land shall be divided by lot. According to the names of the tribes of their fathers they shall inherit. Their inheritance shall be divided according to lot between the larger and the smaller. This was the list of the Levites according to their clans. Of Gershon, the clan of the Gershonites. Of Kohath, the clan of the Kohathites. Of Merari, the clan of the Merarites. These are the clans of Levi, the clan of the Libnites, the clan of the Hebronites, the clan of the Malites, the clan of the Mushites, the clan of the Korahites. And Kohath was the father of Amram. The name of Amram's wife was Jochebed, the daughter of Levi, who was born to Levi in Egypt. And she bore to Amram Aaron and Moses and Miriam their sister. And to Aaron were born Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died when they offered unauthorized fire before the Lord. And those listed were 23,000, every male from a month old and upward. For they were not listed among the people of Israel, because there was no inheritance given to them among the people of Israel. These were those listed by Moses and Eleazar the priest, who listed the people of Israel in the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho. But among these there was not one of those listed by Moses and Aaron the priest, who had listed the people of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. For the Lord had said of them, they shall die in the wilderness. Not one of them was left, except Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. Then drew near the daughters of Zelophehad the son of Hepher, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, from the clans of Manasseh the son of Joseph. The names of his daughters were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest and before the chiefs and all the congregation at the entrance of the tent of meeting, saying, our father died in the wilderness. He was not among the company of those who gathered themselves together against the Lord in the company of Korah, but died for his own sin. And he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be taken away from his clan because he had no son? Give to us a possession among our father's brothers. Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord said to Moses, the daughters of Zelophehad are right. You shall give them possession of an inheritance among their father's brothers, and transfer the inheritance of their father to them. And you shall speak to the people of Israel, saying, if a man dies and has no son, then you shall transfer his inheritance to his daughter. And if he has no daughter, then you shall give his inheritance to his brothers. And if he has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, then you shall give his inheritance to the nearest kinsman of his clan, and he shall possess it. And it shall be for the people of Israel a statute and rule, as the Lord commanded Moses.
Okay, there's some interesting information that you can get out of this part of the text. So the Orthodox rabbis say falsely that all of the oral Torah was given to Moshe on Mount Sinai. Well, we have a specific example here where Moshe is given more information after the fact. So Moshe goes before the Father, after the daughters come to him, Moshe goes to talk to our Heavenly Father, and goes into the tent of meeting and speaks to him. And then Jehovah speaks to Moses and says, yes, they get an inheritance because they have no brothers, okay? So this is an example of things being ironed out in the process. There's a lot of confusion out there about what the Torah is. The Torah is the law book for the kingdom. So you have Jehovah's kingdom. And just like if you go to law school and you are a lawyer in America or Canada or the UK, you would learn the laws of the land. Yeah. So just as we learn the laws of the land where we live, most of us, some of us more than others, And if we need to know those laws, we go to a lawyer, and the lawyer has studied deeply those laws, and they can instruct you and help you on how to navigate those laws. Okay. So when we look at what the Torah is, what you are looking at is the law book for the kingdom. So when Moshe came across a problem and he wasn't sure how to handle it, he took it to Jehovah, and Jehovah told him the righteous judgment. Okay. And those who are learning the righteous judgments of the law book, the standards for the kingdom, are able to sit in a place where they can provide righteous judgment to others. That is why you see people like Deborah. Even though Deborah was a woman, she was able to sit under her date tree and give righteous judgment to the people because she understood righteous judgment and she was getting it from the Heavenly Father. In this story, as we go into the prophet portion, we're going to talk about Jezebel. Now, what is the difference? So Jezebel is the opposite of Deborah. So if you want to understand Jezebel, you have to understand Deborah. Deborah was able to sit in righteous judgment because she knew the commandments. She was walking in the commandments. She was seeking the Father on all things. So she was able to sit in righteous judgment and help the people and instruct the people. She understood the law book. Okay. Jezebel does the opposite. She tries to manipulate to get whatever her flesh wants. She tries to seduce the people. She manipulates. She uses different methods to get what she wants. Okay. She is not looking to bring Yah's will to earth. She's looking to project her will upon the people. And so when you are looking and you want to call somebody a Jezebel, male or female, you're looking for that manipulation of the flesh, lying, cheating, manipulation, seducing in order to get an outcome that they want. Okay. And we're all guilty of this. We all do this in different ways, right? There's even the sense of manipulation, like not being willing to speak the truth and hiding the truth in order to not irritate people or order to not cause arguments or playing nice all the time. That is a form of manipulation. Always being the nice, good person that doesn't say anything, which isn't actually good. It's you're lying and manipulating to get people to like you, right? You're lying, if you're going to be lukewarm about things, often you're manipulating the people around you because you care more about being liked. You care more about staying in comfort than the truth, right? Whereas a Deborah is willing to speak the truth no matter what. And you can find male examples of this as well, obviously. But it's interesting because this week's Torah portion, we do deal with quite a few female examples. And it's interesting that the 5 daughters do inherit land. So they are allowed, even though they don't have brothers and their father is dead, they are allowed to inherit the land. Okay. That also speaks to, yeah, we'll get into that today. Okay, let's leave that there. Now we're going to go into the Joshua succeeding Moses. So we're at verse 12, 27, 12. Numbers 27, 12.
The Lord said to Moses, "Go up into this mountain of Abarim and see the land that I have given to the people of Israel. When you have seen it, you also shall be gathered to your people as your brother Aaron was, because you rebelled against my word in the wilderness of Zin, when the congregation quarreled, failing to uphold me as holy at the waters before their eyes. These are the waters of Meribah, of Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin." Moses spoke to the Lord, saying, "Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation, who shall go out before them and come in before them, who shall lead them out and bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord may not be as sheep that have no shepherd." So the Lord said to Moses, "Take Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay your hand on him. Make him stand before Eleazar the priest and all the congregation, and you shall commission him in their sight. You shall invest him with some of your authority, that all the congregation of the people of Israel may obey. And he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who shall inquire for him by the judgment of the Urim before the Lord. At his word they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the people of Israel with him, the whole congregation. And Moses did as the Lord commanded him. He took Joshua and made him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole congregation, and he laid his hands on him and commissioned him as the Lord directed through Moses.
Okay, you see this example throughout the scriptures where people are anointed for service in different ways. You'll kind of see it. It happens, happened to David, happens to Saul. The people are anointed and given authority. What's really so there's a few things in here that we should talk about. Verse 20, 27:20, you shall invest him with some of your authority, that all the congregation of the people of Israel may obey. That word authority, I believe, is glory in Hebrew. Let's just look it up in a different translation. Is it 12? Yeah, Hod. Splendor, majesty, beauty. Vigor. Grandeur. Grandeur and imposing form, or so, okay, if you look down here in the corner, beauty, comeliness, excellency, glorious, glory, goodly, honor, majesty. So it's sometimes, Hod is sometimes translated into glory. So you shall invest him with some of your glory, authority, Hod, and all the congregation of the people of Israel may obey. So Moshe would be taking on the anointing and the glory from the Father, and then he would be passing it on to Aaron. The other thing to notice is when Moshe is being told why he's not going to enter the land, Jehovah reminds him that it's because he did not uphold Jehovah as holy to the people, as set apart as the one who does all things before the people. We've gone over this a couple weeks ago. If you want to just go back a couple weeks in the studies, and you could go over that. And so Moshe rebelled against Jehovah's word. Jehovah gave him a specific command, and Moshe did not do the command specifically as Jehovah commanded him to do, and thus was not upholding him as set apart and holy. And so now he's giving them Aaron as a shepherd. So there's this shadow picture that goes throughout scripture of them always having somebody shepherding them and leading them, a leader. Just as we have a leader now in Yeshua, right? So Moshe lays his hands upon him, stand before Eleazar the priest, and Eleazar the priest laid his hands on him and commissioned Tazwa, I don't know how to pronounce that. Sawa, Yetzwa, I'm probably butchering that. Summoned and ordered him as Jehovah directed through Moshe. And so the other thing that to notice here is this word Urim. So the Urim and the Turim come up now, and you'll start to see them because Moshe was speaking to Jehovah face to face. But after that, they would consult the Urim and the Turim, the Urim and Tumim. And you'll hear about the Urim and Tumim multiple times throughout the scripture. And they don't know to this day exactly what they were, but they were inserted into the high priest breastplate in some way. Some people think they're scrolls, some people think they were stones. What's interesting is they actually show up on the coat of arms for Yale University. A reference to them shows up on the coat of arms to Yale University. Let me just show you this. Okay, so there's the coat of arms for the Yale University. And it says here in light and truth. And this is Urim and Thummim. I can't say it. So it's a reference to the Urim and the Thummim, light and truth. So apparently one of the scrolls would light up, and that would give them answers to different things. But only the high priest could wear it and insert them into the priestly things. Super interesting. They don't know actually much about it, but what we do know about it is that we don't have them. And because we don't have them, and we don't have this set up currently, it's impossible to have a priesthood. If the high priests and the priesthood, the lineage is correct. And the only way that you would test this is through the Urim and the Thummim. The Urim and the Thummim. Okay, so let's look at Ezra 2. Now were the people of the province who came out of captivity of the exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried captive to Babylonia. They returned to Jerusalem and Judah, and each to his own town. They came with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Sariah, Reliah, Mordecai, Belishan, Mishpar, Bigvai, Rehem, and Bana. The number of the men of the people of Israel, the sons, okay, I'm not gonna read all that. Might be on the wrong one. Ezra 2, right? Okay. So just naming off all the people that came back. Those following who came up from Telma, Teshla, Cherub, Adonai, and Amar, though they could not prove their fathers' houses or their descent, whether they belonged to Israel. The sons of Delina and the sons of Toba and the sons of Nekoda, 652. And also the sons of the priests, the sons of Habiah, the sons of Hakaz, and the sons of Barzillai, who had taken a wife from the daughter of Barzillai the Gideonite, and who was called by their name. These sought their registration among those enrolled in the genealogies, but were not found to be there. So they were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. The governor told them that they shall not partake in the most holy food until there should be a priest to consult the Urim and the Thummim. Okay, so because they could not prove that they had the priestly lineage, even though they were brought back into the land, they did not have a high priest to consult the Urim and the Thummim. They were not able to act as priests. They're not able to be a part of the priesthood. Okay. 2 Chronicles 15. Let's go there. The spirit of Jehovah came upon Azariah, the son of Oded. And they went out to meet Asa and said to him, "Hear me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. Jehovah is with you while you are with him. If you seek him, he will be found by you. And if you forsake him, he will forsake you. For a long time, Israel was without the true Elohim, without a teaching priest and without law. But in their distress, they turned to Jehovah, the God of Israel, and sought him, and he was found by them. And in those times, there was no peace to him who went out, or to him that came in, for great disturbances afflicted the inhabitants of the land, and they were broken into pieces. Nation was crushed by nation, and city by city. And God Elohim troubled them with every sort of distress. But you take courage, do not let your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. So they were without a teaching priest and without the commandments. And we see that today. We see that there's no, like, things are not in their specific Levitical order, okay? But we do have the Melchizedek priest of Yeshua, right? So that's the difference. And knowing the difference between the Levitical earthly priesthood and the very specific earthly priesthood, which is restored on the day of the Lord. You see that restored on the day of the Lord in Isaiah 66. So on the day of the Lord, that's when the Jehovah says he's going to show people who the priesthood is, and then also bring others from the nations into the priesthood. So he will add more, even more to the priesthood. And you can see that in Isaiah 66. So for a long time, Israel was without a true God, without a teaching priest, and without the law, the Torah. And we're seeing that starting to be restored now, where the Torah is going out into Israel, the lost tribes, the lost sheep of Israel. The Torah is going out, and they're starting to learn the Torah, and they're starting to be instructed by the Torah, and then they're turning back to him, right? And as everyone turns back, eventually the day of the Lord comes, and then everyone is ingathered, okay? And then, because we don't have the Urim and Thummim, we can't set up a Levitical priesthood of any kind. There will be some sort of priesthood set up, because we see that in Ezekiel. We see that in the temple in Ezekiel, that the priesthood is restored. But we don't know who's going to be doing what, and we don't know what their positions will be until the day of the Lord. Again, Isaiah 66, if you want to study that out, we won't do it today. We've done it before. Okay, so give him some of your glory. Give him some of your glory. So you see Moshe here being instructed to give Aaron some of his authority, some of his splendor, his hod, his hod. So as you see that, we also see that in Second Kings, where Elisha asks for some of the glory of Elijah. So first they anoint, and then let me just find the spot. Actually, we should read this. This is like timely. I think we should read this. Second Kings 9. Then Elisha the prophet called one of the sons of the prophets and said to him, tie up your garments and take your flask of oil in your hand and go to Ramoth Gilead. And when you arrive, look there for Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, and go in and have him arise from among his fellows and lead him to an inner chamber. Then take a flask of oil and pour it on his head, saying, thus says Jehovah, I anoint you king over Israel, and then open the door and flee. Do not linger. So many people, I think it was, what's his name? I can picture his face, but I can't remember. It's Jonathan Cahn. I think he is the one that tied Trump to Jehu, which I can kind of see. And they've also tied Trump to being like a type of, who's the guy that rebuilt the temple? I forget. So they've tied Trump the Trump to this image of Jehu. Now, whether that will play out as a permanent image of Trump, I don't know. But there is that element where he is being anointed. Cyrus, yes, thank you. Where he is being anointed king over Israel. And I'm sure you guys have seen the imagery of him being gifted a menorah. He's got the coin. He's got his picture on the temple coin where they've matched him with Cyrus. So on that temple coin of the rebuilding of the temple, he is there with Cyrus on the coin. It's an image of Cyrus and it's an image of Trump. Okay, so they're matching him with that. And they've also, and then Jonathan Cahn also matched him as a type and shadow of Jehu. Anointing. And I can kind of see it, because if Trump drains the swamp or whatever, whatever element of that, and he acts as sort of this person who brings about justice in that way, that could be a picture of this element of it. But I don't think that it's going to continue in a good direction with Trump long term. I think there's something we're not seeing there yet. It's almost like Jehovah's using Trump for his own purposes. Jehovah's using Trump for his own purposes, and he has anointed him to be in this position for this time. Like that's there's no question to me that Trump is exactly where he's supposed to be, doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. And everything is about testing, refining his people, preparing the kingdom. When the people entered the land, there was wars going on in different places. These people were warring and they were destroying each other in different places. And that was preparing the land to be cleared for the people to enter the land and live in peace, right? Anywho, so Jehu gets anointed. Thus says Jehovah, I anoint you king over Israel, then open the door and flee, do not linger. So Elisha goes to anoint Jehu, and then he's supposed to open the door and flee, not to linger. That's interesting. So the young man, the servant of the prophet, went to, so Elisha was a servant of Elijah, right? So the young man, the servant of the prophet Elijah, went to Ramoth Gilead. And then when he came back, behold, the commanders of the army were in council. And he said, I have a word for you, O commander. And Jehu said, to which of us all? And he said, to you, O commander. So he arose and went into the house, and the young man poured the oil on his head, saying to him, thus says Jehovah, the God of Israel, I anoint you king over the people of Jehovah, over Israel. And you shall strike down the house of Ahab, your master, that I may avenge on Jezebel the blood of my servants, the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of Jehovah. For the whole house of Ahab shall perish, and I will cut off from Ahab every male, bond or free, in Israel. And I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahijah. And the dogs shall eat Jezebel in the territory of Jezreel, and none shall bury her. And then he opened the door and fled. So he basically goes up to Jehu, pours oil on his head, anoints him king over Israel, and then gives this prophecy about Jezebel and Ahab's kingdom coming down. 2 Kings 9:11. When Jehu came out of the servants of his master, they said to him, is all well? Why did this mad fellow come to you? And he said to them, you know that the fellow and his talk. And they said, that is not true. Tell us now. And he said, thus and so he spoke to me, saying, thus says Jehovah, I anoint you king over Israel. Then in haste every man took up his garment and put it under him on the bare steps. And they blew the trumpet and proclaimed, Jehu is king. Thus Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram, with all of Israel, had been on guard at Ramoth Gilead against Hazael, king of Syria. But King Joram had returned to be healed in Jezreel of his wounds that the Syrians had given him, and he fought with with Hazael, king of Syria. So Jehu said, if this is your decision, then let no one slip out of the city and go and tell the news in Jezreel. And then Jehu mounted his chariot and went to Jezreel, for Joram lay there. And Ahazah, the king of Judah, came down to visit Joram. Okay, so at this time, there's two kingdoms. This is why it gets confusing for people. There's the king of Judah, and then there's the king of Israel. Okay, so Ahaziah was king of Judah, king of the Judah kingdom, and then the king of Israel at that time was Ahab with his wife Jezebel. Okay. Now the watchman was standing on the tower of Jezreel, and he saw the company of Jehu as he came, said, I see a company. And Joram said, take horsemen and send them out to meet him, and let him say, is it peace? So a man on horseback went up to meet him and said, thus says the king, is it peace? And Jehu said, what do you have to do with peace? Turn around and ride behind me. And the watchman reported, saying, the messenger reached them, but he is not coming back. And then they sent out a second horseman who came to them and said, thus the king has said, is it peace? And Jehu answered, what do you have to do with peace? Turn around and ride behind me. Again, the watchman reported, he reached them, but he is not coming back, and is driving like the driving of Jehu, the son of Nimshi, for he drives furiously. He drives in madness. It's interesting because Jehu, when Jonathan Cahn was linking Jehu to Trump, he was saying that he drives like it's almost like madness and haphazard, right? Joram said, make ready. And they made ready his chariot. Then Joram, king of Israel, and Ahazah, king of Judah, set out. Oh, Joram, king of Israel. So why is Joram? I forget why Joram's king of Israel. Okay, so I was wrong. Joram's the king of Israel right now. Set out, each in his chariot, and went to meet Jehu and meet him at the property of Naboth the Jezreelite. And then Joram saw Jehu. He said, is it peace, Jehu? And he answered, what peace can there be as long as the whorings and sorceries of your mother Jezebel are so many? Oh, Joram's the son of Ahab. So Joram's in charge right now. So what peace can there be as long as the whoring and sorceries of your mother Jezebel are so many? Then Joram reigned about and fled, saying to Ahazah, treachery, O Ahazah. And Jehu drew his bow with full strength and shot Joram between the shoulders, so that the arrow pierced his heart, and he sank down in his chariot. Jehu said to Bidkar, his aide, take him now and throw him on the plot of ground belonging to Naboth the Jezreelite. For remember, when you said, I rode side by side behind Ahab and his father, how Jehovah had made this pronouncement against him. Surely, as I saw yesterday, the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, declares Jehovah, I will repay you on this plot of ground. Now, therefore, take him up and throw him on the plot of ground in accordance to the word of Jehovah. So that was a prophecy being fulfilled. Okay, so they go through and they go to war. We won't read all this. Oh wait, this is where Jezebel dies. Okay, we'll keep reading. When Ahazah, the king of Judah, saw this, he fled in the direction of Ben-Hagad, and Jehu pursued him and said, shoot him also. And they shot him in the chariot at the ascent of Gur, which is by Ibalim. And he fled to Megiddo and died there. And his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem and buried him in his tomb with his fathers in the city of David. In the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, Azarah began to reign over Judah. And Jehu came to Jezreel, and Jezreel heard of it. And Jehu came to Jezreel, and Jezebel heard of it. And she painted her eyes and adorned her head and looked out of the window. And as Jehu entered the gate, she said, is it peace, you Zimri, the murderer of your master? And he lifted up his face to the window and said, who is on my side? Who? 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him, and he said, throw her to the ground. And so they threw her down, and some of her blood splattered on the wall and on the horses, and they trampled her. And he went in and ate and drank. And he said, see now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. But when they went to bury her, they found no more than her skull and her feet and the palms of her hands. And they said, and when they came back and told him, they said, this is the word of Jehovah, which was spoken by his servant Elijah the Tishbite. In the territory of Jezreel, the dog shall eat the flesh of Jezebel, and the corpse of Jezebel shall be as dung on the face of the field in the territory of Jezreel, so that no one can say, this is Jezebel. So Elijah had prophesied that before. Okay, let's go back to where we were. I was just looking for when Elisha was anointed. Let me just look that up really quick. First Kings, First Kings 19. First Kings 19. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done and how he killed the prophets with the sword. And then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah saying, so may the gods do to me more, and also if I do not make your life as one of them by this time tomorrow. And then he was afraid. Then he was afraid and arose and ran for his life and came back to Beersheba, which belonged to Judah, and left his servant there. Okay, this afraid, that is a bad translation. I'm going to switch it to KJV so you can see. So look at that in ESV and then look at it in KJV, KJV. 1 Kings 1:19. So 1 Kings 19:1. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life. So in ESV, it says that Elijah was afraid. In KJV, it says that he saw and then he went for his life. He just noticed and saw. He was not afraid. KJV is correct. It is the correct translation is that he saw. He wasn't afraid. So just notice that, because it's really interesting, because if you read certain versions all the time, there's little things that might be twisting your understanding of it. And in this particular instance, KJV was correct. I don't read KJV though, because I find it really difficult to read. And it's not always correct either. Sometimes it has issues. So Jezebel is basically saying, if Elijah doesn't die, then she's making an oath that her gods will destroy her. And then she ends up actually being destroyed, right? So he saw and he arose and ran for his life and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and he left his servant there. His servant would be Elisha. So that's when we just read they split up. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under the broom tree. Okay, I think we have this in our regular Torah portion now, so let's go there. So I don't have to read it anymore. Yep. So we'll just go through it all in the Torah portion. So 1846.
And the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he gathered up his garment and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, so may the gods do to me and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by this time tomorrow. Then he was afraid, and he arose and ran for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there.
So that wasn't afraid. Then he saw. So afraid can be a fear thing. It can be a reverence thing. It can be an understanding thing in Hebrew. But in this circumstance, he was getting an understanding of the situation. He was seeing the situation that was being laid out for him, right?
But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree. And he asked that he might die, saying, "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am no better than my fathers." And he lay down and slept under a broom tree. And behold, an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." And he looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. And he ate and drank and lay down again. And the angel of the Lord came again a second time and touched him and said, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." And he arose and ate and drank, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mount of God.
It's one of my favorite sections. And it was so interesting because this week in our Discord, we were all talking about how tired we were. And we were all discussing, oh, we're so tired, we're so tired. And then I didn't realize until last night when I was going through this again, that this is the Torah portion where Elijah is just so tired. He's like, just take my life, take my soul, take my life. I'm done. I'm that tired. And then basically Abba says, just have a rest, eat something, recoup, and then carry on. I love that.
There he came to a cave and lodged in it. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, and he said to him, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He said, "I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." And he said, "Go out and stand on the mount before the Lord." And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his cloak, and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. And behold, there came a voice to him and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He said, "I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the people of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." And the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. And Jehu the son of Nimshi you shall anoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel Maholah you shall anoint to be prophet in your place. And the one who escapes from the sword of Hazael shall Jehu put to death. And the one who escapes from the sword of Jehu shall Elisha put to death. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." So he departed from there and found Elisha the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen in front of him, and he was with the 12th. Elijah passed by him and cast his cloak upon him. And he left the oxen and ran after Elijah and said, "Let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you." And he said to him, "Go back again, for what have I done to you?" And he returned from following him, and took the yoke of oxen and sacrificed them, and boiled their flesh with the yokes of the oxen, and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he arose and went after Elijah and assisted him.
Okay, very interesting. So who's left? So they're killing everybody by the sword. I heard this. This verse kept coming to mind a couple weeks ago when the Trump ear thing happened. I kept hearing "live by the sword, die by the sword," and that's in the Revelation 17, I think. Live by the sword, die. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. And Yeshua also repeats it, I believe, as well. When the ear of one of the, was it one of the guards gets cut off? The ear, and then he heals the ear, okay? And I kept hearing, live by the sword, die by the sword. And there's been this kind of narrative that, you know, all Yah's people are going to have to go to the death and all this stuff. But there's so many examples of that kind of getting flipped on its head as well. So we have an example here where Jezebel wanted to kill all the prophets of Yehovah, but instead all of her prophets get killed, right? And she proclaims that if Elijah doesn't get killed, then her gods are going to kill her. And that's what happens, right? And Elijah doesn't get killed, obviously. So there's kind of these shadow pictures of those who are going out to kill by the sword are going to be the ones, they're going to die on the gallows that they made for other people. And so we see this same example in Purim in the story of Esther. Mordecai, boo, Mordecai. When you say Mordecai, you're supposed to say boo. Mordecai, boo. He plans to kill all of Israel, like plans to kill all the Jews. And he makes up this whole thing to get it to happen. And then all of a sudden he's going to kill all the Jews, and he's got this plan underway. But then Esther intervenes, and the plan is outed, right? And then those gallows that Mordecai boo had made for the people were used against him, right? So, no, Mordecai is yay. What is the other one? Haman. Oh my gosh, yeah. Haman is the boo. Mordecai is yay. Thank you, Zion Heights. Haman, boo. Haman planned to kill all the Jews. Haman was hung on the gallows that was planned for Mordecai, right? So it's kind of this flip, right? Those who live by the sword, want to kill the prophets of Yehovah, are going to die by the sword. They're going to end up the ones that going to end up the ones who die, right? So we have that example kind of playing out here. The other thing I wanted to point out to you, that he was jealous for Yehovah. So who else was jealous for Yehovah? Phinehas. Phinehas was zealous and jealous for Yehovah, and he was willing to go against the prophets of Baal. And then we have an example here of Elijah was jealous for Yehovah, and he was the one that's willing to go against the prophets of Baal and speak against them and be bold and tear down their altars, right? He was willing to go and do the hard things to tear down their altars and kill their prophets. Those who yet I will leave 7,000. So 7 is the number of a complete number, 7 completion. 7,000 in Israel, with all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him. Let's look up some Roman Catholic pictures again. So first of all, we bow, many people bow to the Pope and they kiss his ring. Let me show you guys this. Okay, so there's a lot of bowing and kissing of the Pope's ring, which is very interesting. I don't know why. And then kissing the popes. Then there's like this Pope does. Well, why does the Pope do the kissing of the feet? There's the kissing of the feet and all of this. So why are they bowing and kissing feet? Yes, that's just a sign of humility. Interesting. The office of the vicar of Christ. So yeah, this is the one I was looking for. They have this ceremony where they kiss the shoes. The Pope's shoes are ornamented by a cross on the top of the shoe that was precisely related to this reverential custom so that the cross might be kissed. It is thought that this development came about in the Middle Ages to show that honor was done not to the mortal, but to the Son of God. Anyways, fascinating, bowing and kissing and whatnot. And then the ring is like, it's a, you can look it up, but it's like a ring. It's called Pope's ring. It's the ring of the fisherman. So it's part of, the Pope wears it and then people kiss it, the ring. So there's that, kissing and bowing. I wanted to go through, okay, because we talked about how we don't have the Urim and the Urim and the Thummim anymore. And because we don't have that, we can't really verify lineages because most of that lineage information has been lost. And I'm sure that many in Judah can prove their lineage and whatnot. But for the most part, the lineage stuff has been lost. And we don't have the Urim and Thummim to figure that out. So how do the rabbis give themselves? The rabbis give themselves, well, we'll start with the Catholic Church. Okay, so how does the Catholic Church give themselves authority? The Catholic Church gave themselves authority via misinterpretation of the keys to the kingdom. And a lot of people use this verse in order to give themselves special authority. You'll see it a lot in cults and stuff. There's this one cult that I've had some run-ins with. There's two cults that I've had some run-ins with, and they all base their authority off of twisting the keys to the kingdom. One of them twists it by saying that you have to abstain for 3 days before Sabbath. And if you abstain for 3 days for Sabbath, you have the keys to the kingdom and all of this stuff. And they make up this whole doctrine. And then they say that they alone have the keys to the kingdom because they know this special doctrine. Okay. So it's always like a special doctrine thing to make them more special. If you want to spot a cult, it's usually a special doctrine that a cult leader has come up with that makes the members of the group more special than everybody else. And because they're more special, they have certain authority. They have certain things so that they can be above everybody else. And you can't have that authority unless you're in their special little club. Okay. That's kind of like how these cult things, there's a lot of small ones out there that you run into. I think it's Matthew 5. Nope. Matthew 16. So let's go to Matthew 16. So Rome, the Vatican takes authority by twisting this verse and making it about Peter being the rock. Peter is not the rock. Yeshua is the rock. Yeah? Do you guys agree with me? Peter is, sorry, let me go through it. Then you will see. Okay. I don't want to get ahead of myself because then you won't see what I'm saying and it'll be confusing. Where is it? 16:19. 16:19. Okay. Now Yeshua came to the district of Caesarea Philippi. Caesarea Philippi is a mountain, and at the base of the mountain there was a hole, and it was a deep, deep hole, and people would leave offerings at that hole because that hole in the ground connected to the underworld, and they could hear demons and stuff in the underworld, and they believed that if they left offerings near that place, that they would be protected from the demons. Okay, that Caesarea Philippi is thought to be, understood to be, the mountain where the watchers came down, the fallen watchers came down and started to corrupt the earth. Okay, that's where the watchers landed. Okay, so Yeshua going to Caesarea Philippi is a very, very important element. He's telling you about something in the spiritual realm. Okay, now Yeshua came to the district of Caesarea Philippi, and he asked his disciples, what do people say the Son of Man is? And they say, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, others say Jeremiah or one of the prophets. And he said to them, but who do you say I am? And Simon Peter replied, you are the Christ, the Messiah, the anointed Messiah, and the Son of the living God. Two things. Okay, and Yeshua answered him, blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So the Catholic Church has interpreted this as Peter becomes the rock. So Peter now becomes the cornerstone. But we know through scripture that Yeshua is the cornerstone. Okay, so what are the two elements that Yeshua just went through? He's the Messiah and he's the Son of the living God. Okay, those two elements, that understanding, having that revelation of who Yeshua is, being the Messiah, the Son of the living God, that is the cornerstone of our faith. That is the rock, the firm foundation of our faith. Okay, so what the Vatican has done is they've gone in there and they've twisted this understanding, and they've made it about Peter being able to change commandments, making about Peter being able to change things and twist things, and then they give Peter all this authority, and then they say that Peter passed down this authority. But what's interesting is that when you look at Acts and you look at how the disciples walked out after Yeshua left, after Yeshua went back to was taken back up, they weren't changing commandments. They weren't doing all this funky stuff that the Catholic Church does. They weren't changing the Sabbath days. They weren't doing that stuff. They weren't all of a sudden, Yeshua didn't ascend and all of a sudden Peter's like, okay, we're going to do Christmas now. No, that stuff the Catholic Church brought in later. Okay, Constantine brought in later, right? So Yeshua is the cornerstone, and they make Peter the cornerstone so that they can change the commandments, so that they can do whatever they want, and they take that authority and they misuse it, right? On this rock. So on this rock, what rock is he building his church on? He's building his church on the understanding that he is the Messiah, the anointed one, and he is the Son of the living God. His church is built on that foundation. That's the cornerstone, right? It's not built on Peter and whatever Peter says goes. Okay, so that's what the Vatican does. They take the authority and they say, oh, well, we have the anointing, we're the rock because Peter passed down his authority to us, and so we can make whatever rules we want, right? So the church, Brother Frank, the church is not about buildings. Yeah, it's not about buildings. So it's the rock of understanding. It's like the stone of understanding, right? So remember when we were talking earlier about Moshe was going to speak to the rock, and then the water was going to flow out, right? the waters could flow. But because Moshe didn't uphold Jehovah as holy and he smashed the rock, he wasn't able to enter the land. He was supposed to uphold Jehovah as holy and set apart, right? And so there's that picture of the rock there as well. And remember, before that, you have the other rock, which was split and the water poured out, and then they were given the 10 commandments. So you had the 10 commandments, which was 2 stones, 2 rocks, and then the water poured out right after. I think we went over this last week. So you have, so first Moshe, the people didn't have water, the waters were bitter, and he puts the branch in the water, I think. And then after that, the people didn't have water, and so he hit the rock and the rock split, and then the water poured out of the split rock. Now, a couple verses after that, you see them go up to, you see Moshe go up to Mount Sinai, and he gets the 2 tablet picture, 2 rocks, right? What pours out of the 2 tablets? Living water, right? The word of Yah pours out of the 2 tablets, the two rocks, okay? And then they're going to enter the land. There's another rock, and Moshe is supposed to speak to the rock. He's not supposed to smash it and split it into 2. He's supposed to speak to the rock, and then the water will flow out. Okay, so you see this rock imagery evolving. Okay, and so who is our rock now? Is it Peter? Who is the rock where the living water flows out? Is it Peter or is it Yeshua? Right? Is the living water flowing out of the Vatican Church or is it flowing out of Yeshua? Right? You see the deception there? It's subtle. It's a subtle sleight of hand, and many people are falling for it. Right? So his church is built on the understanding that he is the Messiah and that he is the Son of God. And these are the keys to the kingdom. And once you understand these keys to the kingdom, then whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. And he's saying this at the base of Mount Caesarea Philippi, which is where the watchers came down. Meaning he's saying that we have authority over the watchers, that we can bind and loose and have dominion over the watchers, that they can't mess with us anymore. Which kind of takes us full circle back to this whole nonsense, right? It takes us full circle back to this, right? We have to use the keys to the kingdom to start taking dominion over this stuff and calling down judgment fire on this nonsense, right? And how do we call down judgment fire? How do we use the sword, right? We point out to the people who do not know and do not see this stuff, who have blind eyes. We point out things so that they can see with their blind eyes that this is actually child sacrifice, right? That this is ridiculous, right? And we point out to them, like, this is silly. You guys are participating in silliness, dangerous silliness, right? And when you use the sword of the word to start pointing this out to people, then they will start to see that they have to choose a side, that they have to decide what they're going to do. Okay, so that is how the Vatican took authority and made themselves a priesthood. Okay, now let's look at how, so the rabbinical passage that the rabbis, Orthodox rabbis, use to assert authority is Deuteronomy 17. So they use this section in Deuteronomy 17 to say that they are the ones that are in authority, and that they can bind and loose. Okay, so we New Testament believers understand that we can bind and loose through understanding the 2 factors that I just put out there. The rabbis say that they can bind and loose according to Deuteronomy 17. So I believe it's verse number 8. If anyone comes to your courts, if any cases come to your courts that are too difficult for you to judge, whether bloodshed, lawsuits, or assaults, take them to the place Jehovah your Elohim will choose. That would be the Jerusalem. Go to the Levitical priest and judge who is in the office at the time. Inquire of them that they will give you the verdict. You must act according to the decisions that they give you at the place Jehovah will choose. Be careful to do everything they instruct you to do. Act according to whatever they teach you and whatever decisions they give you. Do not turn aside from what they tell you to the right or to the left. If anyone shows contempt for the judge or for the priest who stands ministering there to Jehovah your Elohim, is to be put to death. You must purge all evil from Israel, and all the people will hear and be afraid and will not be contemptuous again. So they use this section to say that they have authority as rabbis to pass judgments on the Torah, and so that they can add and change the Torah. So just as the Vatican adds and changes commandments and does all sorts of things, changes holidays, changes Sabbath days, the Orthodox rabbinical authorities do the same thing. It's the same picture. It's the exact same picture on both sides, right? They can add whatever commands they want. They can remove whatever commands they want. They can do whatever, okay? And then what happens is this, when you do that, what happens is, what is the spiritual result of that? The spiritual result of that is Matthew 23:13. And this is the same result for the Vatican as it is for the Orthodox rabbinical adding and taking away, okay? Let's read it all. Matthew 23:1. And then Yeshua said to the crowds and to his disciples. So he's speaking to everyone, to the crowds and his disciples. The scribes and Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. So do and observe whatever they tell you, but not the works that they do, for they preach and do not practice. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on people's shoulders, but they are not willing to move them, but they are not themselves willing to move them with their finger. So what was read on Moses' seat? The scriptures were read from Moses' seat. So when Yeshua went up and read the scriptures in the synagogue, he was reading from Moses' seat. And so what is Yeshua saying? He's saying, when they read the Torah, do what the Torah says. When they read the scriptures, do what the scriptures say. But all this added stuff that's not in the book, don't do that stuff, right? All the stuff that they don't do, and then the extra stuff that they do and they tell you to do, don't do that stuff. Just do what he's reading, okay? They tie up heavy burdens. Go look up the different commands for different things about the Sabbath day and all this stuff. It's like all this extra stuff that's burdening on the people. You can't tear your toilet paper. You can't turn off and on your lights, all this extra stuff, right? And when they do that, they make it difficult for the people to just simply understand that they're supposed to keep the Sabbath and rest in Jehovah, okay? And then that causes confusion in the Christian camp too, right? All the confusion causes in the Christian camp because the Christians don't know that all these extra commands were added by Judah. They were added by the Orthodox rabbis, okay? Just as the Christians don't understand that they're doing a whole bunch of commands that were added by the Pharisees of the Vatican. They're doing all these extra commands. They're putting all their money and time and effort into Christmas and Easter, which is an extra stuff and a twisted version of the biblical feasts that was added in by the Vatican, right? Tying up heavy burdens. Christmas is a heavy burden upon most people. It's expensive. It's stressful for most people, right? There's a few people that love it and they just revel in it. But for most people, they don't, right? It's very, very expensive. They have to compete with their neighbors on who gets the best, gifts for their kids, right? Both sides, they're doing the same thing. We're told not add, don't take away. Don't add, don't take away. Don't add feasts and festivals. Don't add in all this stuff. Don't take away commands, right? They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on the people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to move them with their finger. They do all the deeds to be seen by others, for they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long, their tzitzits long. And they love the place of honor at feasts and the best seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the marketplaces and being called rabbi by others. but you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher and you are all brothers. So we're not supposed to have, people that we're elevating. We're all teaching each other. And that's that humility piece, right? Too. Nobody's elevated and smarter and better. We all have different insights that we're getting and learning that we're doing. You have one teacher, Yehovah, and Yeshua, right? Yehovah. And you are all brothers. Call no man your father on earth, for you have one Father who is in heaven. Call no man father. So why do they call in the Vatican, in Roman Catholicism, they call them fathers? They literally disobey Yeshua's clear instruction to call no man father on earth. Make it make sense, guys. Call no man your father on earth. Like, don't call him God on earth. You have one Father who is in heaven. Neither be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Christ. The greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. For you neither you enter in yourselves, nor do you allow those who would enter to go in. So what is the cost of adding all this nonsense and heavy yokes to the word? You're not getting the goodness of the word. You're not getting the revelation of the word. So if you're doing all the stuff that the Vatican is telling you to do, so you're doing, I use feast because it's really an easy example to use. If you're doing Christmas and you're learning about Christmas and you're learning about Easter and you're doing all the false pagan feasts that are not in the word, you're not learning about what a tabernacle is. You're not learning the symbols of the scripture. So you're not entering into the kingdom, the picture of the kingdom that Jehovah has given you to understand him by. Okay. So when you're studying all the false stuff of the Vatican, you're not learning the word of God. When you're studying all this false stuff of the rabbis and all the extra added in stuff, and you're being told to worry about your light switches instead of worrying about the inner workings of your heart and how charitable, and they do that too. I'm not gonna, and so does the Vatican too. But if you're spending all the time on religiosity and all these extra added commands, you're not entering into the word. You're not entering into what Father wants to do in the spirit, to worship him in spirit and truth. You're having to go through a mediator on earth. You're going to, the Father or your pastor or your rabbi. Don't call man rabbi, don't call man father. You're going to these intermediaries and you're not getting, the spirit's not able to work because you're just getting the judgment from them and you're not entering into the kingdom, right? It's really, really fascinating that in this section, he addresses those who call people rabbi and those who call people father. He addresses both of them in here. You are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher and you are all brothers, and call no man your father on earth. He's pointing out both groups. It's as if he knew. He's pointing out both groups specifically. And those are the two groups that consistently add and take away from the commandments and put heavy yokes upon the people so that they can't enter in spirit and truth and worship him in spirit and truth. Fascinating. It's like he knew. It's like almost like when he says, remember the Sabbath day. Remember the Sabbath day. Like, it's almost like he knew they would forget and they would have to remember, right? Go figure. Okay, so we have one more. We're going to read. We have John 2:13. Okay, so cleansing the temple. This is right in line. So Jesus is going to cleanse the temple now. Yeshua is going to cleanse the temple. John 2:13-22. So this is right in line with what we're just talking about. So we're talking about those who, what did Yeshua just say? They don't let people enter in. They prevent them from entering into the kingdom. They're making themselves better than everybody else. Okay. So now John 2:13.
The Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple, he found those who were selling oxen and sheep and pigeons, and the money changers sitting there. And making a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and oxen. And he poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. And he told those who sold the pigeons, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of trade." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will consume me." So the Jews said to him, "What sign do you show us for doing these things?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews then said, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and will you raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking about the temple of his body. When therefore he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this, and they believed the scripture and the word that Jesus had spoken.
So again, he's the rock that the living water pours out. Yeah. I did a study back a while ago where I discovered that, well, somebody else discovered and then taught me it, that the area in which the money changers were sitting, and the reason that they were there is because they were taking money from the Gentiles to do, in order to go into the temple and do sacrifices on behalf of the Gentiles. Okay, because the Gentiles were not allowed to go into the temple, and they were not to do the sacrifices. They were not allowed. They were unclean, right? They're not allowed to go into the temple to do sacrifices. So the money changers would sit in the Gentile area. They had different areas, and there was an area for the Gentiles where the Gentiles could go to be close to the temple. And what they would do, because these people did not believe that Gentiles had a right, or they did not a right, but they didn't have a place in the kingdom to come. And you hear this doctrine a lot nowadays as well. You'll hear it in different groups. It's usually a very racist doctrine now. It comes up as a very racist doctrine at this time. I've seen a lot of it. And they say that these certain people are not part of the kingdom to come. Okay. And so this particular group, the Sadducees, I think they were, they didn't believe that Gentiles had a part in the afterlife. And so because of this, when the Gentiles would come and give them money and ask them to go make an offering on their behalf, they would just keep the money and not do the offering. So they were taking the money, but not doing the thing that they said that they were going to do with the money, and stuff like that. And so they were doing this really shifty stuff, because there is a Torah command that if you've come from afar, so if you come from afar and you weren't able to bring a sacrifice that you were going to do, so people would come at Passover and they would bring their sacrifice with them, and then they would bring it to the temple and have that happen. Okay. If you came from a long way, your sacrifice might have died on the way. You might not have made it. So they were allowed to bring money and buy an animal there to sacrifice. Okay. That was allowed. It's in the Torah. I forget where, but I believe it's in the Torah. I'm pretty sure it's in the Torah. If not, somebody just correct me in the comments of the recording. So they were allowed to do that. But the problem that was happening is they were taking the money and not interceding for the people. They were taking the money and they were in vain, saying that they were going to do these things, but they never did them. Basically just stealing from the people, right? Notice also zeal for your house. So we've had zeal with Phinehas. He was zealous for Jehovah and his house. And then you had Elijah was zealous for his Jehovah's house. So we had zeal there. And then we have Yeshua has zeal. That is the prophecy. His disciples remembered, it was written, zeal for your house will consume me. And then Yeshua talks about the temple, destroy this temple, and in 3 days. That is a sign that he is going to give them. That why does he have the authority to flip the tables and do all that? And they asked him for a sign, and he said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days he will raise it up. So the temple of his body is what he's talking about. Okay, I also had, because I was telling you in the beginning, we had that typo, which is Jeremiah 1. So I wanted to look at Jeremiah 1 because I don't believe in coincidences. I believe we should look at Jeremiah 1. But first, I'm going to take a quick little break. I'll just pause the recording 1 moment. Okay, Jeremiah 1. The words of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, one of the priests who were in Anathoth in the land of Benjamin, and to whom the word of Jehovah came in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah, in the 13th year of his reign. It also came in the days of Jeroboam, the king of Josiah, king of Judah, until the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah, and the son of Josiah, the king of Judah, until the captivity of Jerusalem in the 5th month. And now the word of Jehovah came to me, Jeremiah, saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I consecrated you, and I appointed you a prophet to the nations. So Jeremiah was appointed a prophet to the nations. Then I said, Adonai, Jehovah, behold, I do not know how to speak, for I'm only a youth. But Jehovah said to me, do not say I'm only a youth, for all to whom I send you, you shall go, and whatever I command you, you shall speak. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you to deliver you, declares Jehovah. Then Jehovah put out his hand and touched my mouth, and Jehovah said to me, behold, I have put my words in your mouth. I have set you this day over the nations and over kingdoms, to pluck up and to break down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant. So Jeremiah here, in a way, has been given the keys to the kingdom. He's being told that he's being set over nations and kingdoms to pluck up and to break down and to destroy and to overthrow and to build and to plant. And the word of Jehovah came to me, saying, Jeremiah, what do you see? And I said, I see an almond branch. And Jehovah said to me, you have seen well, for I am watching over my word to perform it. And the word of Jehovah came to me a second time, saying, what do you see? And I said, I see a boiling pot facing away from the north. Then Jehovah said to me, out of the north disaster shall be let loose on all the inhabitants of the land. And behold, I am calling all the tribes and the kingdoms of the north, declares Jehovah, and they shall come, and every one shall set his throne at the entrance of the gates of Jerusalem, against all its walls and all around, and against all the cities of Judah. And I will declare my judgments against them for their evil in forsaking me. They have made offerings to other gods and worshipped the works of their own hands. But you, dress yourself for work, arise and say to them everything that I command you. Do not be dismayed by them, lest I dismay you before them. And I, behold, I make you this day a fortified city, an iron pillar, and bronze walls against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, its officials and its priests, against the people of the land. They will fight against you, but they will not prevail against you, for I am with you, declares Jehovah, to deliver you. And the word of Jehovah came to me, saying, go and proclaim in the hearing of Jerusalem. Thus says Jehovah, I remember the devotion of your youth, your love as a bride, how you followed me in the wilderness, in a land not sown. Israel was holy to Jehovah, first fruits of his harvest. All who ate of it incurred guilt, and disaster came upon them, declared Jehovah. Hear the words of Jehovah, O house of Jacob, and all of the clans of Israel. Thus says Jehovah, what wrong did your fathers find in me that they went so far from me, and they went after worthlessness and became worthless? They did not say, where is Jehovah, who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, who led us in the wilderness and into the land of deserts and pits, and into the land of drought and deep darkness, and into a land that none passes through, where no man dwells. And I brought you into a plentiful land to enjoy its fruits and good things. But when you came in, you defiled my land and made my heritage an abomination. So there's this theme that goes throughout this heritage and abomination. And this takes us back to the things of, replacing his biblical feasts with these false pagan feasts, right? And replacing and changing his word and putting and adding and taking away and making and putting your own works onto the word, right? Making his heritage, the things that he created, the things that he wrote for us to meditate on, to consume, making it an abomination, consuming the abomination instead of consuming his word, right? Then you came in, you defiled my land, and you made my heritage an abomination. The inheritance is his word and his promise. Do you remember so you have Abraham, he got the promise, and he got the promise because he was willing to follow Jehovah no matter what Jehovah, and he was willing to walk with Jehovah and keep his commands, right? So he got the promise. Then Abraham passed the promise down to his sons, and his sons passed it down to their sons, right? The promise goes down to the sons until we get to Israel and Judah and Ephraim and Israel, right? All of Israel. And the promise is passed down to them, right? And then now people can get grafted into the promise, right? The heritage is that promise, but that promise is based on understanding that Abraham walked with Jehovah and kept his word, kept his command. The promise is not based on doing away with his commands, doing away with his heritage, doing away with his things, but instead embracing and being grafted into those things, right? The priest did not say, where is Jehovah? Those who handled the law did not know me. The shepherds transgressed against me. The prophets prophesied by Baal. Okay, looking at Easter versus Passover. I'm just using this because it's the simplest one to help people understand. Prophesying is speaking the word of Yah, and prophesying the testimony of Yeshua, right? You're prophesying his salvation. You're prophesying his plan for salvation. The feasts that he gave us and the Sabbaths, all of them, prophesy to his plan of salvation, okay? So when you're prophesying false feasts and you're doing the works of your hand and you've made these false images, so Easter is a false image, a perversion of the correct image. Christmas is a false image of Sukkot, a perversion of the correct image. You are prophesying by Baal. Does that make sense? Because you are prophesying by a false god. You have made a false image and you are proclaiming salvation, the prophecy of salvation through false images that man has crafted with his own hands. So these prophets are prophesying by Baal. The shepherds, those who do, the priest did not say, where is Jehovah? They didn't say it. They're not asking for him. They're not looking at him. Those who handle the law, the Torah, they don't know him. They're using it in vain. The shepherds transgressed against me. The shepherds are scattering the sheep. They're not letting them enter into the kingdom. The prophets are prophesying by Baal. They're prophesying they're preaching and they're prophesying by their false images. Okay. They're taking their false images and they're lifting their false images up and they're prophesying by their false images. Okay. And they went after things that do not profit. They're going after their own things. They're not going after what the word says and not diving into what the word says. The word is what feeds you. These false images, these false representations don't feed you. Therefore, I still contend with you, declares Jehovah, and with your children's children I will contend. For cross to the coast of Cyprus and sea, or send to Kedar and examine with care and see if there has ever been such a thing. Has a nation changed its gods, even though they are no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which does not profit. Be appalled, O heavens, at this. Be shocked. Be utterly desolate, declares Jehovah. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewn out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns that hold no water. Okay. Manna in the wilderness. First, the people are fed manna in the wilderness, right? They're being shown day by day the manna in the wilderness. That's the bread from heaven. Then they're given the commandments, and the picture of the feast where they're given the commandments, the 10 commandments, is Shavuot, where you get 2 giant loaves of bread. So on the feast of Shavuot, they bake 2 giant loaves of bread, and it's a representation of the 10 commandments, the 2 tablets, the 2 giant loaves of bread that they're getting, the bread from heaven. Okay. Connect this to what we were talking before about the rocks. So first they get the bitter waters. The stick goes into the bitter waters. Then they get the rock that Moses strikes, and the rock splits into 2. At the same time, couple verses later, they get the 10 commandments written on 2 stones. Do you see the connection? And then the living water pours out of the 2 stones. So he's showing you in the physical what he's doing. He's prophesying in the physical what he's doing moving forward. Then they're going to enter the land. Moshe is supposed to speak to the rock. He doesn't speak to it. He smashes it instead. But the water, he was supposed to speak to it, and then it flows out. The water flows out. Okay. And then you have Yeshua, the rock, the cornerstone, the son of Yah, and the Messiah. Okay. Keys to the kingdom. Water, living water, flows out of Yeshua, right? He's the cornerstone that the living water flows out of. Okay. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewn out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns that hold no water. So they are taking and making their own images of these things that were in scripture. They make their own images, and they hewn out these images, and those are idols. When you create an image, that is not the image that Jehovah had created for you to understand. You're making your own images. It's an idol, right? And these cisterns don't hold any water. I hope that makes sense. It's a lot, I know. You have to be with me for a while. You have to go through all of these all year long, and then it'll start to make sense. If you're new, it's not going to click right away. It might take a minute. Is Israel a slave? Is he a homeborn servant? Then why then has he become a prey? The lions have roared against him, and they have roared loudly. They have made his land a waste, but his cities are in ruins without inhabitant. Moreover, the men of Memphis and Tamaphis have shaved the crowns of your head. Have you not brought this upon yourself by forsaking Jehovah your Elohim when he led you in the way? And now what do you gain by going to Egypt to drink the waters of the Nile? So going to Egypt, going to drinking the waters. So in the Nile, they would worship all their false gods. They had a lot of water gods. Let's say the crocodile gods. They had all these, right? So what's that picture of going to Egypt and drinking out of the Nile? Going to those other gods to try to get living water, going to these other things to try to get living water instead of just going to him, to the word directly, right? What do you gain by going to Assyria to drink the water of the Euphrates? So going and worshiping and going after the Assyrian gods. Your evil will chastise you. Your apostasy will reprove you. Know and see that it is evil and bitter, that you forsake Jehovah your Elohim. The fear of me is not in you, declares Jehovah of hosts. For long ago, I broke your yoke and burst your bonds, but you said, I will not serve. Yes, and on every high hill and under every green tree, you bowed like a whore. I don't think I have to illustrate that one for you guys. On every high hill and under every green tree, you bowed like a whore. What does the Vatican do over history? The Roman Vatican, what have they done over history? Look all through Europe. Where are all their cathedrals? Where are all the Vatican cathedrals that are full of idols? On every high hill. They're always on a high hill. They put them up on every high hill that they can get. All over Europe, all over South America, all over the place. Yet, I planted you a choice vine, a holy of pure seed. How then have you turned degenerate and become a wild vine? Though you wash yourself with lye and you use much soap, the stain of your guilt is still before me, declares Adonai Yehovah. How can you say I am not unclean when you've gone after your balls? Look at your way in the valley, know what you have done. A restless young camel running here and there, a wild donkey used to the wilderness, in her heat sniffing the wind. Who can restrain her lust? None who seek her need weary themselves. In her month they will find her. Keep your feet from going unshod, and your throat from thirst. But you have said, it is hopeless. I have loved foreigners, and I will go and after them I will go. So you can see this, and I have loved foreigners, and after them I will go. It's that linking of the daughters of Moab. When we go back to Balaam and Balak, right? Balaam and Balak seduced, tricked the Israelites into marrying the daughters of Moab, the foreign daughters, and so that the foreign daughters would invite them to their feasts, and all of that worship would start to happen. So the Israelites would start to go to the pagan feasts and make offerings at the pagan feasts, and this was the whoring and everything going on and joining together, right? As a thief is shamed when caught, so the house of Israel will be shamed. They, their kings and their officials, their priests and their prophets, who say to a tree, you are my father, and to a stone, you gave me birth. For they have turned their back on me, but not their face. And they have turned their back on me and not their face. But in the time of trouble, they will say, arise and save us. But where are your gods that you made for yourself? Let them arise if they can save you in your time of trouble. As many of your cities are your gods, O Judah. Why do you contend with me? And you have all transgressed against me, declares Jehovah. In vain I have struck your children. I struck your children. They took no correction. Your own sword devoured your prophets like a ravening lion. And you, O generation, behold the word of Jehovah. Have I been a wilderness to Israel or a land of thick darkness? Why do my people say we are free and will come no more to you? Why then do my people say we are free? We are free, we will come to you no more to you. Can a virgin forget her ornaments, a bride her attire? Yet my people have forgotten me days without number. Okay, this is interesting because what does mainstream Christianity always say? Oh, we're free. We're free. Will you come? We will come no more to you. We're free from all of that. We reject that heritage. We reject your things, right? We will come no more to you, okay? Can a virgin forget her ornaments? A bride her attire, the garments, okay? What garments are you wearing? We see this in Revelation. We see this in Revelation 3, where I think it's Sardis. Is it Sardis? They have dirty soiled garments on still. They haven't checked their garments. So if you're going to a wedding feast, you would make sure that your garments are correct, okay? Yeshua is our garment. So Yeshua is the word made flesh. And if Yeshua is the word made flesh and we're wearing his garments, have we been careful to check that we're wearing the correct garments and that our garments aren't soiled by the things of this world, by false images and false stuff, right? So have we learned what the correct garments are? Have we learned how to properly get dressed and ready for the wedding feast, right? Can a virgin forget her ornaments and a bride her attire? Yet my people have forgotten me. Remember the Sabbath day. Forgotten me. Remember the Sabbath day. See how it all plays out? It's all so connected. Days without number. How well you direct your course to seek love, so that even to wicked women you have taught your ways. And also your skirts, and on your skirts is found the lifeblood of the guiltless poor. You did not find them breaking in, yet in spite of these things, you say, I am innocent. Surely his anger has turned from me. Behold, I will bring you to judgment for saying, I have not sinned. How much you go about changing your way. You shall be put to shame by Egypt, as you were put to shame by Assyria. For from it too you will come away with your hands on your head. For Jehovah has rejected those in whom you trust, and you will not prosper by them. That goes back to the what Yeshua said: call no man rabbi, call no man teacher, call no man father. It goes back to what Yeshua was saying. Jehovah has rejected those in whom you trust, and you will not prosper by them, because they're not searching after what the word is saying. They're searching after building up their own commands, building up their own authority, right? Okay, let's stop there, or we'll be reading all day. Thank you for being here. I always appreciate it. If you want to support me, the best way to do that is to join my discipleship program, or just go to my website. And that's all I have to say. It's been lovely. And I think, and those who have been showing their love and appreciation, I really greatly appreciate it. It does make it easier to manage everything. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. Yeah, have a blessed week. And I'm really excited to see what Jehovah shows us next week.